For people that come to my workshops and my classes, or you've watched my Eckhart Yoga videos, you'll know I use the term relationships a lot because it gives us a really good insight into how we move in the body, but also how we move through life. We're in relationship with everything. If you begin to become aware of your relationships with your surroundings, with your body, with your work, with your intimate relationship, with your family, you know, those kind of relationships as well. We have a mirror of all of these things within our practice. And for me, that's what's so important or so useful, to use the asana practice so that what we open our awareness to within the movement is something that translates off the mat, which is why I emphasize things like that. So you might be saying, well, what the heck does that look like in a movement practice? And so I'm just going to take something simple. It's going to be moving towards pigeon. If we look at it in terms of relationship, I have a relationship with my body and I have a relationship with the pose itself in that moment. And I always have an underlying relationship with the breath. And I always say, in this practice, the movement practice, we're always going to let the breath have the last word, right? Because the breath, as part of this sort of like trio, this ménage à trois relationship, with my body, with the pose and the breath is always going to be right. Okay, so it's the monitor of the dialogue between the pose and the body. The breath is going to tell you if it's too much. The breath is going to tell you if it's too soon. The breath is going to tell you if there's more room or there's more energy. It doesn't matter what shape you're making. It doesn't matter what you're doing, but you're having a dialogue with all three of them. Now, your mind's job is to observe it and stay out of the commentary, because that's what the mind does. The mind starts going, well, we're here, maybe we can go further. Or last week it looked like this. Or, 2 days ago it felt like that. Or, oh, look at the person over there and see how well he or she is doing, right? So the mind isn't a very good person to be in this relationship with. Unfortunately, it's going to try to poke its head in. But we're going to trust, the body, the pose, and the breath first and foremost, and we're going to let them do all the talking. So if I'm taking something like pigeon for my French friends, and I say I'm going to do it from downward facing dog. So for those of you that know me, I play around with a lot of shapes moving in and out of that, and that's because it's a relationship. So if I'm in downward facing dog, and I take a three-legged dog, and I move towards pigeon, the beginning of any relationship just starts with a little hello, right? An introduction. Hello, how are you? Right? I'm noticing, I'm shifting weight. I'm doing what I call negotiating. That happens in every relationship. And I've got another video on negotiating if you want to look deeper into that sort of language. And then come back out of it. So that was enough for my first, let's say, my first date, right? You get to meet somebody and then you're thinking, okay, maybe we'll go for a cup of coffee, or maybe we'll go, hang out at a friend's house where there's other people around. It's casual, it's curious, you're getting to know the other person. It's the same thing. The first time you come into that, it's a hello. Even if you've done it loads of times before, you're looking at it from a new perspective. What does it feel like today, right? So then I might carry on, do something else in the sequence, and come back to it, right? So this time for my three-legged dog, as I come into it, now let's say we've gone on a couple dates, right? This is where all of a sudden I want to get a little bit more interesting. I want to find out a little bit more about you. I want to feel into what's going on in my hip and the right side, what's going on in the front of my hip flexors on the left side. My spine, I'm not big on folding forward in it because that's my body and I already know that relationship with my body, so I'm just going to work with this now. And I might linger a little bit longer and I might find moments to pause. Again, let the breath take over. Let the breath tell you if we're good to go. Are we good to go? We're okay here, right? And then come out of it and move on. And, perhaps I move into something else, right? So I'm taking my time getting to understand the quality of space there, the quality of strength there. I'm getting to know how my hip really feels. And I'm doing this all with curiosity. Again, if you use the idea of a relationship, of first dating somebody, it's perfect because it's the same thing that we go through, right? We don't want, the mind will judge, but when we're just open and listen to somebody, when we listen to our body, like we would listen to somebody we were really interested in, we'll let the body tell us. And so say I come back there for the third round, right? And this is where perhaps I'm going to commit to actually, maybe going out to dinner or spend, dinner and a movie, a whole evening, right? We flirted, we've gotten to know each other, and this is where I might just decide, okay, I can rest. I'm going to take those smaller negotiations. I'm still interested because I haven't been met with any resistance yet. I haven't been met with something that says, this is going so wrong. Some of you, depending on your bone structure, pigeon's just not going to be in your movement vocabulary, and that's fine. I ask the breath, are we good? Are we good? And once again, the breath is saying, yeah, we can breathe. I can still soften. I can still remove the resistance. And then perhaps if I want to go into like a hip opener and fold forward, this might be the moment to make that briefer commitment. And I often say, intense relationships, when something starts to feel really intense, it's not bad, but it's not long term. And think about that in every other moment in your life. Something that was really intense, that really intense love affair that you had, where it was just all amazing fireworks and your heart was just pounding every time you saw them, and every cell in your body said, I can't wait to see them, and you're checking your phone every 5 minutes to see if they've texted you, and you go a little bit crazy with it, right? Those intense relationships, great briefly, right? They're not the ones that we want to move in with. They're not the people that we really want to marry, It's all that chemistry going on. And so yes, enjoy it in the moment, the real relationship, as well as whatever you're doing. If there's a bit of intensity, if you're taking an arm balance, if you're taking something more challenging, visit that intensity, but know that intensity. Don't push yourself into that intensity. Let the body tell you, okay, this has been intense, it's been interesting, but it's time to step away from the vehicle, right? Listen to that. Remember, don't let the mind tell you, oh, this is intense, a little bit more intensity will be good. No, a little bit more intensity is where we get in those gray areas. People talk about the edge. You don't really want to play up to your edge, because you accidentally go over your edge in a moment of euphoria, you accidentally injure yourself, Feel intensity, let it be brief, step away from it. But it's all in terms of relationships. And the same thing with, relationships we have in our everyday life. Let yourself be guided, into whatever relationship is coming up. Maybe it's a relationship with a family member that's going through a rocky period, or a relationship with your moving practice. In my, all my years of teaching, I have a lot of people that will come to me and say, I've just started yoga again. Like, I had to let it go for a while, because we can have an intense honeymoon period of yoga where we just think everything in every class is really exciting and amazing. And, sometimes we get injured, or sometimes we just get jaded because we hit this moment where we think, why am I doing this anymore? Is it just going to the gym? Is it something I'm ticking off on my to-do list every day? And so we have this period of intensity, even with the yoga practice, that we have to step away from, and that's fine. Take a break and then reassess, why was I in that relationship in the first place? What drew me in? What offered me some useful benefits? What can I focus on, the useful benefits? of that practice? And can I bring that into my life? And again, reintroduce those practices in a way that's kind to you, in a way that's a nurturing relationship, something that's going to be long term. Remember, all of your really good long-term relationships are the slow burners. The ones that might have had a few peaks of like, oh, this is really exciting, but there was a steadiness to them. They're always the ones that end up being, they last much longer. Think of the people that are still your best friends after, 25 or 30 years. They're the ones that were always there riding the wave with you without getting too dramatic. Just bear that in mind. You're always in relationship. Have an awesome day.